Aloha friends, I'm Zendo Kern, Planning Director for Hawaii County.
Hi, I'm Maurice Messina, Parks and Rec Director.
Today we're going to be talking about an update from Parks and Rec Department, specifically as it relates to the 2018 Kilauea eruption.
Yeah, there's been a lot of changes that have taken place since our last video. So we're going to talk a couple of updates about what we got going on at Isaac Hale, Pahoa Park as well, that had some lava effects. Some Q&A from the public and a few different things we have going on around the island.
Great, looking forward to it, man.
Me too.
So Mo, I know a lot of people are interested and intrigued for an update on Isaac Hale Beach Park. You know, Isaac Hale, Pohoiki, kind of look at it as all one and the same, and so hopefully here in a minute you can kind of explain to us the difference between those two. But Pohoiki, as I call it, Isaac Hale, growing up down there, was such an important part of our community. And 2018 Kilauea eruption changed that for so many people, from the families that would be down there to to gather with their kids and have luau's, to the surfers, to also the fishermen. And so this area was much beyond just Parks and Rec facility, right? This was an area where people came together and gathered. And with that, underscores the importance of this place. And you got a big job, my man. You're bringing it back. So can you give us an update on where you're at?
Yeah, thanks. That's a good point that you brought up about the differences in the names, Isaac Hale and Pohoiki. Pohoiki is actually encompasses, the sand, the beach area, the surf area, and the boat ramp.
Okay.
Isaac Hale is actually the county beach park, but it's the same thing happens with us, right? We all refer to it as Pohoiki. Same, but when you're doing all the documents and everything, it's Isaac Hale. So we submitted our initial design to FEMA, and that initial design was taken through the whole series of events: the community meetings, the farmers markets, the stakeholder meetings that we held actually down at Pohoiki, and we took all that in and we said, okay, what are our main talking points and what do the most people want to see? And it really seems like everybody wants a large pavilion,
okay,
like a large gathering
sure,
place in the area. We also want to connect that large gathering place area, the bathrooms, parking, and the campsites with ADA accessible walkways.
Okay.
There's also a couple of other mentions about expanding the water in the area, especially when people are down there camping and they want to clean out their stuff, so we want to do that. We also want to see if there's a way to bring more lighting to the area as well.
Great. So those improvements really, to me, you're bringing back that sense of community, that sense of place, yeah, where somebody could actually have their one-year-old baby luau down there if they wanted to.
Yep, and that was one of the best parts about listening and reading all the comments from the community that your team put together, is what we see is maybe the needs for like our park staff, right? Like what's the easiest for maintenance? What's the easiest to take care of? What's the best for programming? But reading all the comments, and that was a lot of things that was brought up, is like, okay, if I'm doing the first birthday party, the luau, what do I need to make that happen? And so we took all that into account. And so we delivered it to FEMA, and now we're starting to work on the EA process. And when we go through that EA process, there's going to be a couple more community meetings, so there's going to be more.
Great, so more opportunity then. Outstanding. And just, I don't know, it does my heart good to hear that you folks are taking that feedback and really incorporating that in to create a sense of place, because that's at the end of the day is what it is.
Couldn't agree more, man.
Yeah, so beautiful. So, so for those that maybe haven't seen our previous videos or maybe not completely up to speed, let's just rewind it back to some real basics. So, just for its sake of clarity, how much funding did we receive for Isaac Hale Beach Park from FEMA?
So it was around $5 million total, and we're going to be putting $3 million back into the park. And so that's the dollar figure we're working with right
Fantastic.
now.
And so with that spending, you kind of probably already said it. Can you talk about some of the elements that'll be going in here? We got pathways, we got pavilions. Can you elaborate a bit more? I know there's even is there some community like gardening element to it potentially?
Possibly.
Okay.
Possibly. There have been a few members from the public and stakeholders that have approached us to saying, okay, is there a way we could do like a public-private partnership, kind of something like we've got at a few other of our beach parks, to where we have a nonprofit come in, help us manage the facility, help us manage the pavilion. And this is going to be a big pavilion. We're talking maybe 40 by 80. It's
wow.
going to be really big. It's going to be surrounded by grassy areas with the opportunity to expand more in the future. There's even been talks about ways to bring in more bathrooms and restrooms and comfort stations even possible portable, like with trailer houses.
Okay,
And
okay.
So basically we're looking at every possible idea, and we hope that more of these ideas come out during the EA process.
Fantastic. I know one time when we were talking earlier, you folks, it was really important to have water down there. So there was some focus on water, but with working with the Department of Water Supply, we're going to be bringing fresh water, county water down there, which allows these services to really expand, right? How critical is that?
Well, if you've been down to the beach park since the eruption or since it's reopened, you'll notice that we have portable toilets. We also have a way to wash hands that is more like what I live off of in Puna. I live off of Catchment, right?
Okay,
So we
sure.
have the water systems. But what we did is right before the eruption happened is our plumbers went down and they secured all of our lines. So that way in the future, if we were able to get potable water back down to the park, we could reopen those bathrooms. That is, it's the most important thing about the beach park. Not only because of the bathrooms, but like when we start having the luau's,
Sure.
the first baby birthday parties, there's going to be a real need for water, and for us cleaning as well, right? We must clean our bathrooms.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you guys have somebody clean. Well, that's a whole nother conversation, but the amount of maintenance you folks do, it's amazing. And we park users are very grateful for what you guys do.
Thanks.
So this is really, really wonderful, really exciting news. So the big question is, when do you actually think this will get done?
Well, we're not dragging our feet.
I know that.
So we submitted our plan. We've got the EA process going. Hopefully, in the EA process, we'll be able to provide a better timeline.
Okay.
But it's our goal to be breaking ground in 2024. That is the goal.
Awesome.
Now, I do know a lot does depend on the water, the infrastructure with the water, how the EA process goes, and if there's a roadblock or two we run into during construction, like everybody else does, delays in construction material, but we want to get it going. The community has spoken, and they really want to see this park get brought back up to the standards that it was in.
Beautiful. And from an inside perspective, somebody actually gets to work with the directors. I see the commitment, I see the determination, and like you say, when there's a roadblock put up, we figure a way around it, over it, or right through it, right? So we can actually get done and serve our community.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate you.
You too, man.
All right, so now let's take some time to go over some questions and answers from the public, or mainly questions from the public and answers from this guy. So on some of our previous videos, we talked about, the feasibility of really what it takes to restore some of these other areas, like Hale. There's a lot of desire for that, and yet there's also a lot of challenges that comes with it. So Mo, can you give us a little bit of an explanation, an idea of what it would really take to go in and restore a place like Hale?
Thanks. That is one of the questions we get a lot, is about Hale. I can tell you about a month and a half or 2 months ago, there was some community members that came and met with the mayor, and I believe you was here.
I was there.
On this night.
Yep.
And at that meeting, the mayor established a beach access working group for Puna. Since then, I've met with a couple of community members, community leaders, and we got the ball rolling on that, talking about Hale. So right now, where Hale was, it's under about 30 foot of lava or so. So, but with all these new beach accesses, there's beach points created, right? New sand and everything. So our focus has kind of changed a little bit now. So to where Hale set, do we now make like a small parking lot that people can park and then walk down to the beach areas for access? That's been one of the things that's been talked about. Just got to really keep in mind, and you're as a planner, you know this, whenever we do something new and we bring something in, there's a lot of infrastructure involved. Right?
Yes.
So for us at parks, we get concerned when we have a beach area or a park area that's open where we don't have bathrooms, we don't have running water.
Sure.
Maybe we don't have a good enough cell coverage down for emergency response.
Sure.
And then how do we do the lifeguards?
Sure.
But I can tell you, the working group that I'm a part of, we're about solutions, and we think that we can figure out ways to make it happen. It's not going to be an easy road, but we think that we can do it.
I think having that working group is going to be critical, right? Because it brings these community members together, and we can actually vet out what the challenges are, right? Because some folks, hey, just get a bulldozer out there and just bulldoze it. But as you say, it's much more complex than that. There's all these other elements that go to it. And also, too, I think a good kind of differential is sometimes people confuse or mistake a public access versus a beach park, right? So it's not just a trail, it's a beach park. And once you do that, you actually have to have the facilities there to service it. And you need to maintain health and safety. So again, very close and near dear to my heart. I appreciate working on that. And I actually appreciate being part of the group as well.
Oh yeah, and and let's not forget, all these new beach areas that were created are not county property. It's all
Right,
state land.
it's all state land. That's a whole nother conversation that we'll be having.
Exactly. But let's don't forget that we do not have enough beach access, safe beach access in Puna. I mean, Hamakua Coast, we don't have enough either.
Correct.
And so that's one of our charges in the Parks Department is how do we create this safe access with all the partners, county partners, state partners, and federal partners. And so that's what we're working towards, and hopefully that's what we can get to.
Well, as a beach guy, I really appreciate that. So, what are some of the other challenges that people don't necessarily see when it comes to actually having to come up with this park design? It seems easy enough, but I'm sure it's much more complex than most people would imagine.
Right, so if we look at a Hala Nui, for example, how are we going to get water access? Is water access going to happen? How do we get our equipment, our maintenance folks, our rubbish trucks, how do we get them into the area? For me, the number one issue that we must face get over at all of our parks is how do we take care of the park? How do we keep it safe? How do we keep it clean? Because these are grown men and women that we have working for us. And sometimes it's really hard for when I got to make that phone call and I say, can you go and clean up this mess that's down here? And if it's because of inaction by our part, by not giving enough of the facilities for the public, it does take a personal toll on us.
Sure.
Because all those different areas, people need a place to go to the bathroom. They need a place to wash themselves off afterwards.
Yeah.
You've gone to the beaches enough. You know what it's like to have to chug water in and out. And that's the way it is at Isaac Hale, right? Until we've got the water system going a little bit to wash up.
Yeah.
But the maintenance is number one. And then how do we get more programs into the area? Because we don't want to just open up a new park facility or a new beach without actually having things that the public can do down there.
Oh, okay.
I mean, even when we look at Isaac Hale, there have been suggestions about do we bring in new playground equipment? Because not everybody goes to the beach, right?
Sure, absolutely.
So could it be something like we have at Kailua Park, Old A's in Kona, where you got a beach park area and you've got a recreation area?
Fascinating. So when you're designing this park area, do you actually have to take into consideration like landscaping?
Oh yeah, yeah. That's why when FEMA came back to us and gave us a much lower number for what we thought it would make to restore or rebuild these parks, they didn't take that into account. They didn't take landscaping into account, and the right landscaping, right? We can't have 150 coconut trees because it costs us already over $300,000 a year just to trim coconut trees on our island.
Right.
So we don't want to bring too much of that in there. And at Isaac Hale, or Pohoiki, when we had to take some coconut trees out, a lot of them were just overrun with fire ants. And that is our guys pulling out these, throwing them in the back of their truck, and us trying to figure out ways to dispose of them the right way, the eco way.
Simple things, just as simple as one would think landscaping. There's actually a lot of thinking that needs to go into it. Now, I want to rewind just a moment. You talked about your folks coming down there, the parks maintenance facility guys, making sure the facilities are clean. But I also think it goes further, especially in a remote area like that. That sense of ownership, the sense of community or stewardship. Can you talk to us a little bit about stewardship and what that is looking like or means as it relates to Isaac Hale?
Yeah, in fact, I'll talk about both of the questions that you asked. So ownership and pride in an area, it's not just the community, it's our workers as well. We have a total of 7 workers, maintenance workers, for all of Puna.
Okay.
All the way up to Volcano, all the way down to Isaac Hale.
So all of Puna?
All of Puna. KL.
Which all of Puna is the size of Oahu?
Yes.
Okay.
And we've got 7 maintenance workers.
Okay.
And some of our maintenance workers live in these areas. And so when we talk about pride, we talk about sense of ownership. That's what our guys have.
Wow.
They were born and raised in these areas.
Yeah.
And they want to see the best for the community. When it comes to stewardship, whether we're talking public open space to where, because we do have some areas that are right past the beach area, which is public open space area.
Yep.
But stewardship of an area really is, to use the word about the 3rd or 4th time already, kind of like taking ownership, taking responsibility for the areas. and working.
I hear
with,
that's already ringing true for somebody else.
Yeah, and working with our community partners, saying, okay, you have a stewardship grant now. How do we fulfill this grant, and how do we make sure that we get the most out of everything? So that's very important for us.
That's very, very important. You know, so another big kind of potential challenge or big concern that we've been hearing a bit about is the roads get opened back up, the park gets opened back up, and now there's a tremendous amount of people that want to come down and visit it, right? So the tourists coming down there, and there's some concern about some oversaturation, if you will. Talk to me a little bit about the signage program or the signage idea you guys are working through.
So this was something that was brought up by some community members. In fact, there's one community member who's a teacher at Pohoiki right now, and she said that she wants to work with her students to develop some type of interpretive signage and basically say, hey, let us tell you what this site means to us. I'm from Louisiana, and if I got my family coming down and visiting Isaac Hale, I think it would be great for them to be able to see, okay, this is what this facility means to us. This is what this heiau is. This is what this tree is. And this is how you should respect the place. Kind of like if you go down to Waipio Valley, we have interpretive signage saying this is what Waipio Valley is about. It's going to be something like that, but this is going to be community driven, and it's going to be the community help making those signs, and it's going to be their words, their voices on these signs.
Wow, that's exciting. See this collaboration between county, private, coming together for community, it's working.
Yeah, especially when you have people in the area who've been down there their whole lives, their families, generations and generations. If we're not listening to their input, then we're doing something wrong.
Awesome, awesome. Really appreciate the update on that, Mo. Thank you so much. Really appreciate everybody tuning in. It's been an honor and pleasure to chat with Mo. So Mo, if people want to get in touch with you in Parks and Rec, what's the way that they do that?
Easiest way is go through our website.
Okay.
Or even better yet, come down and see us.
Oh, wow.
We have 300 facilities throughout the island, a little over 450 employees. If for some reason you can't make it out to see me or see any of my staff, just stop one of our guys. Let them know, hey, I want to bring this up to the director. No matter what our guys are out there doing, be safe. You know, don't come up right up behind the guy when he's weed eating, but just any of our guys come up and say, hey, I want to talk to the director. We're personable, open door policy all the time.
I love that. Really appreciate it. Good to see you, my man.
Yeah, you too, man.
Talk to you soon, yeah?
Be good.
Aloha. Thank you all for tuning in.
Aloha.